So, 20 seconds. We don't have anything particularly special planned, other than we actually do have to get on this a little fast because we're doing 4 cocktails this evening.
Four.
We're going to do 4 because of the Minimalist Tiki canon of 30 cocktails, we have 4 to go.
Okay.
So tonight we're going to finish up the Minimalist Tiki canon, which are those base drinks that if you design, you put together a small, not overwhelmingly stocked tiki cabinet, you should be able to do all 30 of these drinks. And lo and behold, most of the time I can, although sometimes I don't have certain ingredients like ginger beer and that sort of thing. Yep, had to go get some of that sort of thing. But so we've made ourselves mostly through the Tiki canon for Matt Petrick's Minimalist Tiki, which Star is going to show you.
Minimalist Tiki. It's now in its 3rd printing.
And we are going to toast the 3rd printing of Minimalist Tiki and our ability to get through Minimalist Tiki with, yes, another rum from Foursquare. So as a rule, rum aficionados tend to turn their noses up at spiced rums, and this is in fact Foursquare's spiced rum. Now, I have complete and utter faith in the Foursquare distillery. I also know that Foursquare distillery, because of the way they do things, isn't going to put in artificial extracts and that sort of thing to flavor their spiced rums, unlike the vast majority of mass market spiced rums. So I'm expecting this to be quite yummy and tasty, and we've actually had it before, and it was quite yummy and tasty. It's still not my favorite spiced rum. I'm still
Chairman's Reserve.
The Chairman's Reserve spiced rum. I'm really partial to that. So here's to 22.
To Colleen.
It's Colleen Health.
Yes.
And the start of football season. Matt Petrick's 3rd printing. Spiced rum that's actually spiced using real ingredients. Cheers.
Oh, that's nice.
This is in direct contrast to the spiced single malt scotch we had last night. Yeah.
No. Spiced rum? Yes.
I would use it in place of an orange liqueur.
Right.
Yeah,
we had
It was not supposedly not spiced. It is infused with orange peels and pith
other spices.
and cloves. And when you start to add things like cloves, I'm like, so how is that not spiced?
It was a compass box, wasn't it?
Yeah, compass box
orange
scotch. Yes.
Orange something.
Orangiana, something like that.
Yes, we had a patio dinner with some friends who have a lot of scotch, and so we had some.
We had a lot of scotch.
I got to play with dogs.
Yes. Shout out to Freya and Corey. How's that?
Freya and Corey.
Corey, who's named after our favorite scotch.
Yes.
Yeah, so there we go. So I should get started unless there are immediate questions, but I don't see any. So Star will let me know. The 4 drinks that we are going to do this evening, the last 4. The Bolo. So the Bolo is going to be a foray into using rum agricole again. We haven't touched on rum agricole for quite a while, so we'll come back to that. The Chief Lapu. This is a relatively large format drink, and I mean, I hate to say it, but it's a pretty typical, pretty standard kind of tiki drink. You know, you've got a mix of syrups, you've got a mix of fruit juices. The sour ingredient is a little odd because it's split between lemon and passion fruit, so it's going to be a little bizarre. But yeah, there's nothing hugely special about the Chief Lapu. Next, we're going to do the Polynesian Paralysis, which we almost did on one of the nights where I did tiki drinks not made with rum, because the Polynesian Paralysis is made with, it's supposed to be made with what is roughly the equivalent of the Hawaiian version, the Hawaiian native version of moonshine. But when you can't get your hands on that, I can't get my hands on that. Bourbon or rye is a perfectly fine substitute. And so what we're going to be using is the Berkshire Bourbon Whiskey, the Smoke and Peat Bourbon Whiskey. We're going to be using that for the Polynesian Paralysis. Because last night we were drinking a bunch of things with smoke and peat in them, so why stop now? We're going to go ahead and continue that route. And then the very last drink we will do from the Minimalist Tiki canon is the Test Pilot. And the Test Pilot is actually sort of a toned down version of one of my favorite of all Tiki drinks, which is the Jet Pilot. And so I'll talk a little bit about the differences between the Jet Pilot and the Test Pilot. But you can tell that it's one of my favorites because it has the addition of absinthe in it. So there you go. All right, so the Bolo. Dana, hi. Be safe. Don't catch on fire. Yeah. All right, so the Bolo. What do we need for the Bolo? The Bolo requires honey mix. Once again, this is in this case, it's a 2-to-1 mix of honey to water, just to give it a viscosity that we can actually work with. So, because you don't want to be trying to pour honey into a cocktail, because it just doesn't work unless you really, really, really want to shake for a long, long time. It's just a bad idea. Some passion fruit syrup, and here is some passion fruit syrup that I have that I make by combining a passion fruit concentrate and the Torani passion fruit syrup that you see like on the counter at Starbucks or something along those lines. Pineapple juice. While we do have a pineapple sitting right here, and I could have juiced it, I elected to watch football instead. So we're going to go with a can of pineapple juice for that. Lime juice, right? Lime juice, because lime juice, always. And then a rum agricole, and then a lightly aged Puerto Rican rum, because we want just a clean, simple column still rum. And we're going to go with, for that, we will go with the Bacardi 8-year, because I now have it, so we're going to use it. That sounds like a plan. All right, all of the drinks this evening are going to be finished in roughly the same way. They're going to be built and finished in the same way. We are going to build them in a shaker tin. We're going to add cubes of ice to it. We're going to shake it. Then we're going to strain it into a glass, and we're going to add crushed ice to fill up the glass. That's how we're going to do this, all of them tonight. First up is the Bolo. And what glass did I want to use for the Bolo? I wanted to use this one for the Bolo. Okay. So we're going to go here. I'm going to pull this guy out, set him aside. I need a shaker tin, one piece of the shaker tin, second piece of the shaker tin. They're going to go just like that, right? Okay. So we're going to always build in the smaller piece to start with. So 1/4 ounce of honey mix. So here is my honey mix. 1/4 ounce is a tiny little bit of sweetness. And I need something that can measure a 1/4 ounce without squirting all over the place. Messy, messy, messy. Okay, so 1/4 ounce. See how much more easily that pours than honey does? Yeah, that's why. Sorry, there's strange noises coming from upstairs, which means I think our cat has discovered a plastic bag and is running all over the place and jumping up and down on it and doing all sorts of cat things with it, because that's what he likes to do. 1/2 ounce passion fruit syrup. Again, I'm going with the higher viscosity ingredients because I want to be able to clear out my jigger of those higher viscosity ingredients with the lighter viscosity ingredients. All right, so there's 1/2 ounce of that. So we got 3/4 of an ounce in there. 1 ounce pineapple juice. Can is pre-shook. Dun, dun, dun. There's 1 ounce there. 1/2 ounce of the lime juice. Where is my lime juice? Which one of these many containers is lime juice? I am going to have to figure out a better way to label my stuff so that I can just glance over and go, oh, that's the lime juice. It would also help if I used from week to week the same container for the same ingredient. Because then I go, oh, this bottle is lime juice. I know it because that's the bottle I always put lime juice in, instead of, what bottle do I have lime juice in this week? All right, so what is it, half ounce? Half ounce. Half ounce lime juice. Half ounce lime juice. Star, remind me that when we get to the Polynesian Paralysis to talk rye. Okay, so now we need the rum ingredients into this, because everything else is here, so we're good. We've got a sour ingredient, we've got sweet ingredients. We're going to add ice to this to dilute it to get our weak ingredients. We need the strong. We're going to start with 1 ounce of an aged Puerto Rican column still rum. So this is going to be a very clean rum that gets the majority of its flavor from its barrel aging. And in this case, we're using the Bacardi 8 year. So we've got 8 years in the barrel, so that'll give it a nice woody character. And then the second and last piece of this interesting little cocktail is a rum agricole. Now, you might recall the difference between a rum agricole and other types of rum is that, well, first of all, rum agricole, especially if it's from Martinique, has an AOC associated with it, which means it can only be produced in a very specific way. And this means that it has to come straight from sugarcane pressings. So rather than 90 to 95% of all the rum on the planet that is made with molasses, rum agricoles are always made with fresh sugarcane juice. And so they ferment the fresh sugarcane juice and then they distill that product. What that means is that your rum agricoles have a very different flavor profile from your molasses rums. They are much more grassy. They have much more the character of where they come from. The sugarcane itself, the characteristics of the sugarcane matter, the characteristics of the soil, the water, and all of that sort of thing come through a little more with the rum agricoles. But if you're not used to the flavor of a rum agricole, you'd probably go, what the heck am I drinking? This isn't a rum. Bleh. So if you're expecting a molasses rum, this is not what this is going to be. So this is 3/4 ounce. Three-quarters of an ounce. All right. So this is a grand total of about 4 ounces of drink. So it's one of the other things you have to pay attention to when mixing cocktails is how much liquid you are actually going to pour in your glass. Because tiki glasses can range everything from the relatively small to fairly gargantuan bowls. And well, if you're making a 4-ounce cocktail and adding some ice to it and pouring it in a great big bowl and then filling that bowl with crushed ice, you're going to have way too much dilution. So you just have to be kind of careful about knowing what cocktail you're putting in what glass. And so I actually spent a little bit of time today pouring water into various glasses and then pouring it into a measuring cup to go, oh, that's how much that holds. Oh my God, I didn't realize it was that big. Okay, so ice, lit it up, shake it. Sounds like a plan. Where's my ice? My ice is here. We need some cubes. We're going to go with 1 scoop here. I'm going to add a little more. So I think last week I mentioned that I was reading Jeffrey Morgenthaler's book on cocktailing, and that it's all technique based. And one of the things he says is, darn it, when you're building a drink to shake, make sure you fill your smaller container, your lower container, the one you built the cocktail in, fill it with ice, never go light on the ice. Okay, but in most cases, when you're building a cocktail, your standard Boston shakers have literally a small cup and a larger cup that goes on top. I'm using a much larger small cup, so I am not going to go all the way to the top on this because I will get over dilution with that. Jeffrey also has some kind of, they're not extreme, but very specific views on how you should shake a cocktail. I have neither practiced enough nor do I necessarily think I absolutely have to. What are we looking at?
I'm showing Kristen that something's on fire.
Yes, something's on fire. Oh, is she doing that now?
No, she said nothing was on fire.
Oh, no, we got plenty of smoke here. We even have a candle going tonight. All right, so we're going to shake. So that's one of the things that Jeffrey says about shaking a cocktail. So I've mentioned it before, the issue of where the open end of the cocktail shaker should go. You don't want that pointed at your guest. He takes it a step further and says, never shake at your patron. Always turn sideways. So you saw me do this. Right? So, okay, I'm trying, Jeffrey. We're trying to get this down. All right, we're going to crack the seal. He also says if you get tired shaking, you're shaking wrong. Either that or you're just doing a whole lot of cocktails, buddy. All right, strain this into a glass. Dun, dun, dun. Yada, yada, yada. Like I said, that's about 4 ounces. Which means this comes about halfway up on this glass, so on the mug. So we can then go ahead and add our crushed ice to it, if I can find where I put my scoop. So here we go. Add the crushed ice. There we go. Nice and full up. It's gonna get nice and cold on us. And then what are we going to garnish this with? So the other thing that we've been doing with Minimalist Tiki is kind of going through the various garnishes that Matt talks about in the book and various ways of garnishing things. And surprisingly, we've done an awful lot of them without halfway trying. But there are a few that we haven't done. And one of those is the pineapple garnish. And so what this is you've just taken either an orange or in this case a lemon peel, and you've pulled that off of your lemon, wrapped it around a few times, stuck a pick through it, and then you're sticking some mint through it to make it look kind of like, I don't know, the greenery coming off of a pineapple. And so that just sits right there on top of your cocktail. And you can go minimal with just a little bit of greenery, or you can go maximal and put a whole lot of greenery on there. You know, it's like, hey, it's foliage, yay! And here is one of Star's favorite mugs. Dun, dun, dun.
I think
with a couple of pineapple foliage garnishes thrown in there. We're going to stick a straw in this. And she's going to tell me whether or not she actually likes this drink. What do you think? I'm going to have some rum.
Oh, I like that drink.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pineapple in that drink, though.
Just wait, hon.
Okay. But I mean, the taste
is very
is
pineapple.
overwhelmingly pineapple.
Is it?
It's a little unbalanced, I think, maybe.
I can see that.
Because I taste
You taste pineapple.
pineapple.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good, and I would get very intoxicated very easily on
Yeah,
this.
this is one of those classic.
Look, I'm drinking pineapple juice.
Right,
There's no
and
booze
you know,
in here.
and like 4 of them later, you're like, how much booze was in each one of those?
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, it is relatively light. There's under 2 ounces of alcohol in each one of these. So this is under a standard pour of alcohol, and we're not using an overproof at all. So you know, this is a light drink. There's fair amount of pineapple in there, so that's primarily what you'll taste. So if you don't like the alcohol burn, or you're not really keen on alcohol, this is a fine drink. I might actually play with the proportions a little bit, because if I'm going to be using an aged agricole in there, I would like that flavor to come out just a little bit more. So there we go. There's your first drink of the final 4. we have finished the Bolo. The other thing you could do is remember the rum that we're using that is not the rum agricole is a really clean column still rum. So if you wanted to add a little more character to the drink, you could just swap out the Bacardi 8 for something else. I wouldn't necessarily swap out a Jamaican, but like a St. Lucian rum would be quite good. Give it just a little more character. Because she's right, you're not picking up a lot of the wood notes from the aged Bacardi, nor are you picking up a lot of the floral grassy notes, from the rum agricole. So, okay, so there you go. There's the Bolo. Simple, tastes like pineapple juice. Not going to hurt you unless you have a whole lot of them, but it's really easy to have a whole lot of them. So there you go. All right. David, nice for showing up. Better late than never, you say, but then again, we started late, so who am I to talk, right? It's just good to see you. Hopefully Chris can sneak in as well and say hi. All right, so that's one down. We got 3 more to go. So the second cocktail here is the Chief Lapu Lapu. Dun, 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 Lapu Lapu. This will also use passion fruit syrup. It will use simple syrup, and in this case we're going to, I hate using just plain old ordinary white sugar simple syrup, so we are using a Demerara syrup, which is nothing more than a simple syrup made with Demerara sugar. It's a darker sugar. It has a little more, it's unlike brown sugar, which is essentially white sugar that has molasses added back in order to give it the flavor. This is more of a raw sugar to begin with. So it has a slightly different flavor from your molasses-y based dark brown sugars. Right. Orange juice, lemon juice. So this is one of those strange ones which has lemon as its primary sour as opposed to lime, which anyone that's seen any more than one of these knows, my gosh, we use a lot of lime juice around here. And then we're going to use a even cleaner rum. We're going to go with the Bacardi Superior. Yes, that's right. I actually own some Bacardi Superior. Crystal clear rum, crystal clear flavor profile. This is, you can't say it's unaged. It is lightly aged. By law, it is required to age at a minimum of 3 years. You're like, 3 years in a barrel in the tropics? How come there's no color? Because they filter all of their crystal clear rums. So we're going to use that. So there's not going to be a whole lot of punch of flavor from this, which means all of the flavor of the rum that you're going to get from this cocktail is coming from the last rum that you're going to put in here, which is an aged Jamaican rum, right? So we're, of course, reaching for the Appleton 12-year, because yeah, why not? Because it's my workhorse, right? It says aged Jamaican, I'm going to go with that unless I'm making a really sort of top shelf cocktail, and then I'm reaching for something even more funky, Hamden, something like that. But it's a little pricey to be making your everyday normal cocktails with some of those premium Jamaican rums. So we're not going to do that. This is a fairly large format cocktail.
Another fire-stricken.
Another fire-stricken. Oh, Marzia, Dr. Marzia Karch. Yes. Hello, hello. Stay out of the flames. Yeah, avoid those. What else we got in here? That's it. That's all. But fairly large amounts of all of these, because this cocktail is almost a full 10 ounces of liquid. So we're going to go with kind of a big goblet-y guy here. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Always remind me of chocolate ice cream drinks.
Chocolate ice cream drinks from Halakihiki served in these guys. I am going to need my wife to run to the back room, and she will see in the freezer a glass that has an ice shell on it. You'll know it when you see it. Okay, so what are we going to do? We are going to start with 1 ounce of the Demerara syrup. And what is this going in? It's going in a shaker tin. Shaker tin, 1 ounce.
Ice shell.
Dun, dun, I just set that over there somewhere and I'll get to it. 1 ounce.
Hi, Marcia. Hi, Tracy.
Tracy joined us too?
Tracy Reynolds.
Oh, hi, Tracy. How are you? Not that I can see an answer, but how are you? I have to rely on the wife for that. Passion fruit. 1 ounce of passion fruit juice. Excuse me, passion fruit syrup. Juice would be way too tart. The syrup adds some sweetness to it to cut the passion fruit tartness. 1 ounce of passion fruit syrup. That's an enormous amount of passion fruit syrup. So I expect it to come through in this cocktail. But then again, maybe not, because your next ingredient is the orange juice, and there's freaking 3 ounces of orange juice in this cocktail. Fresh squeeze, so I'm shaking because orange juice separates really, really fast. So that is why you will actually see on commercial orange juices, you will see a emulsifier, things like xanthan gum in the orange juice, in order to keep it from separating, because it just does it so quickly. So you make fresh orange juice, you stick it in your fridge, 30 minutes later you walk in and it looks like there's this water on top and this orange sludge at the bottom. And it's not just pulp. I mean, this stuff is pretty heavily strained and you still get that. So there you go. All right, so there's 3 ounces of orange juice. We need 2 ounces of lemon juice. Whew, 2 ounces of lemon juice? Oh my God. Sour, going after the sour on this guy. Because the passion fruit syrup is partially sour. Yeah, so sour, lots of sour. 2 ounces lemon juice. 1.5 ounces of our Bacardi Silver, Bacardi Superior. 1.5 ounces. There's 1.5 ounces. And now the flavor. The rum flavor coming through. Yep, here we go. So this is 1.5 ounces as well. No, I'm not eyeballing the amount of rum in this jigger. Yes, this is a 1 ounce and this is a 2 ounce portion of the jigger, but this jigger has 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce. Actually, it has 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce on this side, and has 1 ounce, 1.5, 1 3/4, and 2 ounce markings on the inside of this other one. I really like this kind of jigger. That means you can do all sorts of things with it. You can measure just about anything you could possibly want. I got it because I mentioned the fact that I needed to be able to measure 1/4 ounce. All right, that's it. We're going to add some ice to this. We're going to shake it. We're going to do just what we did previously with the Bolo. So I have been asked and have answered the question a couple of times as to why we use clean ice. And there's a variety of reasons that we use clean ice, but I will add one that I had not mentioned before that Jeffrey Morgenthaler brings up, which is when you shake, shaking is a violent process. And what it will do is it will take your cubes and it will fracture portions of the cubes, and you will get little tiny ice fragments. And some of those ice fragments will actually make it past, will make it into the drink if you just pour your dirty ice in there. And some people find those to be unappetizing, and the mixture of textures of the big ice cubes and the small, fractures is just unappetizing for certain cocktails. And so it's just a smoother presentation to strain out all of those and pour into your mug, and then add ice afterwards. All right, so there we go. We are going to lid this up, and then we are going to shake it. And here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to turn sideways. When Jeffrey's talking about training bartenders in his I know, I'm referring to a guy by the first name as if I know him. When he's training his bartenders on how to shake, he actually starts them with rice. Just pouring rice into the shaker so that they can get the sense of the weight of the cocktail moving back and forth in the shaker. And they can actually see, if you're using like a clear glass portion of the shaker, they can see when the rice is hitting one edge of the shaker, which is that point at which he wants you to bring it back. So you're just barely letting it hit the edge and come back. Right, I'm just shaking. All right, so we're going to strain this in here because this is whopping 10 ounces. Wow. 10 ounces right there. Now I'm going to add some crushed ice to this. Hello, you two. So there's some crushed ice added to that. Now, there's kind of a cool thing you can do. I took a coupe glass. You know what a coupe looks like, right? Coupe. I have a coupe in here. Hold on. I'll be right back. Aha! There's my coupes. Coupe, right? So you take your crushed ice and you shove it into the coupe, and then you take your muddler, like this, and you press down on the crushed ice, and you compact it around in a circle, leaving a gap in the coupe, and you stick it in the freezer. Then when you want to use it, you pull it out, let it sit on the counter for a few minutes, and the edge around where the glass meets the ice will actually melt first, allowing you to remove an ice shell from the coupe. And so what you do is you end up with this nifty little ice shell, this little bowl of ice. And you can do all sorts of things with this. Like one of the classic cocktail garnishes for Tiki puts crushed ice in here and then takes the shell and puts it on its side. So it's sitting up like this, kind of like a cowl over the drink, which is really nifty. And if you do it really right, you can build this up over time and have this really cool looking cowl thing over the, this is like my first time trying this, so whatever. So what I'm going to do actually with this though, is I'm going to take this, and you can actually just use it like an ice cube and set that in your cocktail, which I have now overloaded because it's going to overflow all over the place. So I'm going to need to stick a straw in that. And then you've got this nice little island that you can put things in. So you can put like half a lime and just have it sitting up like that. I don't know, can you see that? All right, so I can actually have my half lime shell just sticking up out of there. You can take things like orange peel or orange curls and just set them in that bowl. So it's like a bowl within a bowl. You can do all sorts of things. You can actually line the inside of the ice bowl with orange peel or other citrus peel, and then put other things in there like, I don't know, flaming sugar cubes and that sort of thing. So you can do all sorts of cool stuff with that. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this little guy sitting up like that. And there was something else I was going to put in there. Oh, I was going to just cut this in half real quick. I need to sharpen my knife. Right. So normally if I were to just take this and stick it in the drink, it would just slide down into the drink. But I can put it in the bowl and it'll stick upright. Sort of upright, like such. Right? So I can do that. And then stick some mint in there along the side. Smack this guy around a little bit. I can either put that in the bowl or put it on the side. Stick a straw in there and knock over the ice float that I just carefully put in.
Need practice with the
Need practice with the ice boat. But yeah, so that's basically how that is mostly supposed to work. It's a really cool thing. You can play with ice and use it as garnishes. Obviously, I need more practice with that. Here is a cocktail. that has what? How much? Yeah, 3 ounces of alcohol in it.
That one has some alcohol in it.
That one has some alcohol in
Yeah.
it. Yep, and it has some alcohol that has some character to
Yes.
it. Yep.
That's really yummy. I like that one.
The lemon is an interesting mix with the pineapple.
Yeah.
As opposed to the usual lime and pineapple.
Yeah.
Yep, I like that combination.
Yeah, I think it makes the pineapple tartar.
Well, you would be good with that. It would be like a drizzle or a shot of Kahlua in that.
Oh,
Yeah.
it would be.
But pineapple and Kahlua is like an awesome combination. So yeah, we know that. All right. What? You're wondering where the Kahlua is?
Yeah.
Kahlua's right here. The thing labeled Kahlua.
Yeah.
Ounce.
Half ounce, just kind of a float.
So if you can hear the music, so there's some Cuban Latino music in the background playing. You're like, that's not Tiki. Tiki's Caribbean. Or Tiki is, excuse me, Pacific. But rum is Caribbean. And almost all of the Tiki drinks themselves have their origins in Caribbean cocktails. So
he's pouring over the back of the bar spoon.
I'm pouring over the back of the bar spoon. And what that will do is it will kind of float that on top, which is fine and great because you won't actually taste the Kahlua until it has a chance to diffuse through the cocktail. And you can't actually see the float for 2 reasons. One, there's only a half ounce in here and this is a great big 10-ounce drink. The other reason is because I poured it into the ice boat. Right? So there you go. Enjoy. And if you want, you can just stick the straw in the ice boat. So that might be an interesting thing. So if you get the solid ice boat, that one actually had a slight hole in it.
Good.
If you get a solid ice boat, you could put the float in the ice boat and set that in the cocktail. And because it's ice, it'll sit there and float in the cocktail. So there you go. There's our second one. We've done the Bolo. We've done the Chief Lapu.
Brooke wants to know what's on fire.
Of course she does. She missed out. She wasn't here earlier when we explained what was on fire.
Right.
The incense and the candle. There's actually a candle there, right there, right there, there. So that's what's on fire. So there.
She says a cowl like Simon Cowell.
Not nearly as insulting. This one's much more cool.
Is the bartender really supposed to drink from the drink?
No.
From David.
So
You have to repeat the questions again.
right. Okay. So the question is, are bartenders actually supposed to drink from the drink they're giving to the patron? The answer to that is no, not really. So in the truest sense of, are you supposed to drink from the drink? No. Are you supposed to use the spoon you are going to hand to the patron? No. In fact, it used to be quite common for bartenders to take the tiny thin cocktail straws, that we used to have like thousands of them sitting around bars. They would dip that into the cocktail, put their finger on the top, and then just to give themselves a little taste. Now you're thinking, man, you're just doing that so you get to taste the alcohol with every drink that goes out there. No. There's a reason for that. The reason for that is because when you're tending a quick bar and things are going left and right and sideways and that sort of thing, it's easy to go, did I miss something in that cocktail? And before you hand a bad cocktail to someone, you want to be able to have gone, wow, that's bad. I don't want to, no. I did something wrong. I got something wrong with that cocktail. Nowadays, with the concerns over using too many plastic straws, because all of those were like one shot and done. You stick in the cocktail, taste, boom, it goes in the trash. Hugely wasteful of those kinds of straws. Often what you'll see now is that bartenders will stick like a bar spoon into the cocktail and they'll just tap it on the back of their hand and do that so that they can taste the cocktail. And they can tell whether or not they've made that cocktail correctly. And that way they know whether or not they're handing you a correctly made cocktail as opposed to, oh shoot, I forgot all the alcohol in that cocktail or something along those lines. Yeah.
We have an Alyssa and a Juliana.
Yay! Hi guys. How is everyone?
Brooke has a drinking game for this.
She has a drinking game for this. What is
Quarantiki.
this? For Quarantiki, she has a drinking.
Every time Pooch slaps mint,
bad mint, bad mint. You have to take a drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have so much fun with that.
Alyssa always has ginger beer.
Well, then we should visit Alyssa sometime,
And
once
Brooke was
it's
making
healthy to do
chicken
so.
Dinner.
Hmm.
And that's why she was late.
It's all right. It's all right. Chicken dinner, a good dinner. Good thing to have for dinner. Right. We had lunch. We had late lunch. I know we had late lunch because we had it while the late game was starting. So yeah, it was very late lunch. So once we're done with this, I'll pack this up and I'll make up something for dinner. Actually, I think there's some monkfish sitting in the fridge that needs to be used, and monkfish cooks like really, really quickly. So I'll probably just take some ponzu sauce and splay it over the fish, stick it under the broiler, and bang, we'll be done. So there you go. So 2 drinks down. Third drink. Third drink is the Polynesian Paralysis, and here we are leaving rum by the sidelines. And we are going with another large format cocktail. If I had actually staged this correctly, I would have spread some of the larger content cocktails out instead of doing 2 of them in the same lesson, plan, thing, whatever this is. Adventure with me behind the bar, right? And Star has the first drink, the Bolo, and she now has the second drink, large format drink, the Chief Lapu Lapu, and both of those are going to be to her taste. The third drink uses rye. So I'm just going to keep that here because I'm pretty much assured that I will like it and she won't, unless it has enough pineapple in it for her to really taste it. Speaking of rye, I am reminded by my wife. So one of our local favorite bars is doing a Wednesday evenings discussions with, they're having Wednesdays are devoted to rye drinks and doing various things with rye. And they hosted an evening with the rep for the like East Coast rep for Angel's Envy Rye. And had a little Zoom session, and they provided the link to it, and you could sign up for the Zoom session and come on in and chat with Mr. Tony Burke of Angel's Envy Rye and learn all sorts of things about Angel's Envy and talk about cocktails in general. And
Whiskey.
And whiskey, right. And so we tuned in, and so it was us and the head bartender from our local bar, and Tony Burke. And it was a nice little private conversation, and I would encourage everybody to check out the link to People's Drug, which Star is going to put in the comments, and check out Wednesdays, and when they do live events, go ahead and tune in. We will not be using Angel's Envy this evening. Angel's Envy has some really nice characteristics to it that would all be completely lost in this cocktail, and as a consequence, I don't want to use up my really good Angel's Envy Rye on this cocktail, but we will be using a smoked and peated rye, which is a very different kind of rye for this cocktail. So there we go. I did learn something new, and there's always something each week I try and do. Hey, I learned something new this week. So in the conversations with Tony, I learned that one of the signature characteristics of all of the Angel's Envy lines is that they have a finishing cask, whether that so all ryes will be done in an oak cask, but then they're finished for all of the Angel's Envy line. They will be finished in something else, whether that's a Caribbean rum cask or a sherry cask or something else on those lines. They're just going to play around with their finishing casks, and that is one of the things that differentiates the Angel's Envy line from other lines that use the same raw spirit that's going into those bottles. All right, so yay, very cool. That was nifty. I hadn't realized that was true of the entire Angel's Envy line. I also learned that they have done cast strength releases for like 2,000 bottles for the world. He's like, they're really good. And I'm like, yeah, I'm never getting my hands on one of those. But anyway, so Angel's Envy Rye, it's good stuff. It was a pleasure talking with Mr. Tony Burke and Mr. John Schott from People's Drug. So I encourage you to sign in and do that with them. They would love to have somebody besides.
Wednesdays all the month.
Wednesdays all month, right? September, right? September would be this month. So the Polynesian Paralysis. Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to do a flaming garnish with this, which is great and cool, and because I'm using a smoky rye for this, so hence we're going to do some flames. But after having 3 or 4 cocktails, maybe you don't want to play with flames so much, but what the heck, we're going to do that anyway. So
You've only had taste.
I've only had taste, so I'm perfectly happy and fine. Okay, I'm not actually happy and fine because I've actually only had taste. If I had more, I'd probably be happier. All right, but we're going to do the same thing we did before. So shaker tin, the rest of the Boston shaker. Our ingredients: 1 ounce of orgeat. So here's my homemade orgeat. Once again, it's an almond-based simple syrup. I make mine homemade with some lightly toasted almonds. When we did our is fresh better, is fresh really better, we did a taste test between this and the Small Hands orgeat, and while they're both quite good, I like mine better. What can I say? I mean, Small Hands is a perfectly fine substitute, but homemade, it's a pain, but it seems to be worth it for my bar. Okay, so there you go. 1 ounce, full ounce of orgeat. That's a lot of orgeat, people. And this is one of those cases where it does pay off to pour this into the jigger first, because it is so thick and so viscous that you will need something else to clean out that jigger a little bit. There are various things that professional bartenders do, snapping the jigger and that sort of thing, to get the last dregs out. I'm just not quite good at that, so I'm going to use other liquid to clear this out. Large format drink, we're going to need even more sweetness than this, so we're going to do another ½ ounce of sweetener, and this is just going to be simple Demerara syrup. So ½ ounce. There's a ½ ounce. And then this will probably make Star's heart go pitter-patter and maybe make her want to take this drink away from me. 3 ounces of pineapple juice. So there's 1. And a total of 3. 3 ounces orange juice. Yeah, there's a lot of juice in this cocktail. And we are hoping, because I forgot to check on my citrus today, we are hoping that I have 3 ounces of orange juice here. Will you look at that? 3 ounces orange juice with a drag. Hopefully I don't need any orange juice for any more cocktails this evening. All right, so there you go. There's 3 ounces of pineapple juice, 3 ounces of orange juice. Yes, those are fresh squeezed. We need more sour, 3/4 ounce of lemon. Once again, so we're going with lemon. Now this doesn't surprise me this time that we're using lemon. Lemon is a more natural mix with whiskeys. And when you are making a typical sour, rum sours like daiquiris almost always use lime, but whiskey sours use lemon. And lemon is just a better complement for whiskeys and scotches. Oop. We're a little high on that. Oh, it's a bar mat. I'm going to have to wash the bar mat anyway. Look, I spilled the previous cocktail all over this bar mat, so it's going to have to be washed. So might as well spill a little more. One of the truly great joys of having bar mats, because there's like a bamboo mat that's underneath all of this bar, and if that gets wet and gets syrups and stuff on it, it is a pain to clean, because you got to take everything off the bar. You've got to hose it down, pat it dry, and then let it air dry, because otherwise it will mold, and that would be really disgusting. You don't want a moldy bar. Bad idea. I know of no drink that requires mold. So I'm not saying I know every drink on the planet, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to be drinking something where mold is an active ingredient. All right. So to go with 3 ounces of orange juice and 3 ounces of pineapple juice, clearly we need a fairly large amount of alcohol. So this requires 3 full ounces of rye. So here we go. Now, once again, I said this at the beginning, this cocktail actually calls for like a native spirit of Hawaii, which is essentially their version of moonshine. But it's really only truly available like in Hawaii. Otherwise, it's really hard to get. Conus, that's continental U.S. Sorry for those that aren't mill speak. Right. Great. I'm explaining that with yet another mill speak term. Anyway, so it's just hard to find. It's hard to get. But most of the time when people are making the Polynesian Paralysis, they're using either rye or bourbon instead, and it has some of the same characteristics. You don't want to use anything that's got a whole lot of real subtle notes to it. Don't use your high-end bourbons, your high-end ryes in this cocktail, because they will be completely obliterated by everything else you just saw me put in here. My orgeat alone will obliterate the finer notes of any bourbon you might put it with. So don't do that. So here, we're using, what is it, Berkshire? Berkshire's Smoke and Peat bourbon, because I wanted to get some of those smoke and peaty notes in the Polynesian Paralysis. You can use a straight-up bourbon, straight-up rye, and go grab your bottle of Woodford Reserve or Maker's Mark or whatever you want to use. I happen to have the Berkshire on hand, and I thought the smoky notes would lend an interesting element to the cocktail. So there we go. There's 3 ounces of that. We're going to add ice to this. We're going to shake it. We're going to strain it into a cocktail mug, and then we're going to add crushed ice, and then we're going to garnish this guy up. And if I'm doing this correctly, we might actually get out of here in time for the start of... Oh, no, never mind. What am I thinking? 7:30, take an hour and a half, 8:30 to 9. Yeah, no, we're missing the start of the late football game. For those of you that care about such things, many of you probably don't. Yeah, no, we are not changing the time on this. You can sit there with your TV and watch me. Depending on who's playing that night, it might be really valuable to you to be watching somebody make cocktails such that you can be drinking that evening, depending on how well your team is doing or did that day. All right, so we're lidding this up. Got ice cubes in here. We're going to shake. It does occur to me that because I'm using the larger shaker here, I'm getting a fairly large throw, which is good. But because these are oversized format drinks, it might even be better to use something like a mix of like the blending tin. Blending tin, that's just water from the ice scoop. That's all that's dripping on it's not mold, I promise. Use that with a mixing tin like this, and that'll give you even bigger throw, which would be better for this amount of liquid that we're throwing around here. All right. Yeah, make sure you have a good seal. A lot of your shake tins or blending tins have these little indents in the side, like here. I'm not sure if you can see them, but they help with the blending. With the spindle blender, comes in here and actually helps create a vortex in there. What that does, though, it makes it much harder to get a good seal. So you can show them the sides there where the indentions are. All right. Once again, large format mug. This doesn't look like a large format mug. It doesn't look all that big to me. This doesn't look that huge, right? But it is. This is a monstrous mug. I poured water in here and it just kept pouring water and kept pouring water. Monstrously big, which is good because this is a really large cocktail. This is, in terms of liquid, before you add the dilution, this is 11.5 ounces. So this is a big big hunkin' mass of liquid here, of which almost a quarter of that is rye. So there you go. That goes in there. We're going to add some crushed ice. Gets us a little more dilution. All right. This time I'm not going to overfill it. I do need to reach into my bag of tricks down here. Dun, dun. And where's a dropper? All these little things I have around the bar, like medicine droppers. Why do you have medicine droppers? Well, because they're important for various things.
You have a bunch of comments that I'll read.
I have a bunch of comments.
Oh.
Shit. I have garnish on the floor. Wife is going to pick that up. Pooch, what the heck are you doing? I am soaking a sugar cube in lemon extract. For those of you that, hon, can you pick that up?
Sorry.
Yep. And then we're going to reach into the cabinet here and pull another one of those out, because I don't want the one that rolled on the floor. Okay, so here what I've done is just like I did with the pineapple, I took a peel and I twirled it around. But this peel was taken from the top of the orange, and so there's an angle to it. So if you look closely, you can see that these are slightly conically shaped, as opposed to the pineapple garnish I did earlier with the mint sticking in it that was basically just straight up and down. So we're just going to set this here. Luxardo cherries, right? Are these, which one is the one?
That's the new one.
That's the new one, okay. So we're going to drop one in. This is kind of a classic tiki garnish, by the way, is to just do a little twirl like this and then stick like a nice Luxardo cherry in there. But I promised, oh no, it's falling over. No, come back up here. Stick this on the side so I can brace it. And then this is that cube that I soaked in lemon juice. We're going to stick that in there. Now, why would I take a sugar cube and soak it in lemon extract? Well, because when I do that, I can get flames off of it. If I've added enough. There we go. Oh, we're going to get a little... Oh,
Fail.
fail. Probably because we're getting a little too much of the citric juices from the orange peel.
Ah, okay.
We'll see if I can get this to do what it's supposed to do. There we
There
go.
you
There's a little
go.
bit of flame. Little itty
Hold
bitty,
it up.
little itty bitty flame. Turn off the light. Turn off the light. Turn off the light. You see the little bitty flame? Little itty bitty poof. Flame go away. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's nice to be with you again. It's even better when I can get flames occurring. There, something's burning. There you go, Brooke. Something's burning. Yay, flames. No, this does not go out to all my friends in California. That's not why I'm doing this. I promise. I'm not that cruel and mean a person. Tip, anytime you're doing anything with flaming garnishes, make sure that you at least tell your patron that they are not to drink that until the flame goes out. Or, better, do some sort of fancy little, sprinkle it with cinnamon, watch the sparks come up and that sort of thing with it until it goes out, and then stick a straw in it and hand it to your patron. That way you are assured that they are not going to burn themselves on that and do something something otherwise amusing to no one by getting themselves burned by drinking your cocktail. So I'm going to stick that in there. Yeah. So one of the other classic tiki ways of garnishing things, you end up with a whole bunch of these husks of lemons, limes, oranges, that sort of thing. And so people like to use them for garnishes. And so it is quite common to take a husk like this and stick various bits of mint or various other things in it. So you have like a little floating island that has foliage coming out of it in your drink, and it adds a little bit of the olfactory notes to the cocktail. And there you go. There you've got the flip that around. There you go. And this is a big enough cocktail where you could stick a couple of straws in there and serve it to multiple people if you wanted. Dang. You might actually like that. Oh, shoot.
I'll leave it for you, though.
I might be in trouble. She might really like that, actually.
That is really good.
Yeah. Isn't that? See? Yummy cocktails in the tiki realm that don't actually use rum.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
kind
I'm
of...
going to read you all your comments because they're not showing up on mine.
What? Comments aren't showing up? Oh, no.
No, they're showing up on yours, not mine.
Oh, okay. So I saw one of those comments. One of the comments was from Brooke, who said, 151 for the fire? No. Don't use 151 for the fire. It's way too pale. It doesn't show up very well. It's expensive. And Bacardi stopped making their 151 rum, which was pretty much the cheapest rum you could do that with. So you could do it with Cruzan or something like that, which is a little more expensive. But as long as you are a baker of any sort, you probably have containers of lemon extract lying around. Lemon extract works exceedingly well for making flames. It just really does. I don't know why. I'm not sure that it's just the alcohol content. There's something about it, about the extract, that really makes flames. When you do it right, and not like I did a moment ago, when you do it right, you actually get the really nice flames coming up. And it's really quite impressive. I'm a little saddened that that did not work the way I intended it to. Well, I'm going to light other things on fire later, so that's all right.
Okay. Make sure you repeat because they can't hear me.
Right.
David actually didn't expect a straight answer about should the bartender drink.
Oh, no. Yes. So there you go. You got a straight answer about should a bartender drink. Well, should a bartender drink the cocktails that he's making? Bartender should... unless it's an unusual circumstance, they should always taste the cocktail before they're serving it to a guest. Now, I mean, if you're doing like a rum and coke or a gin and tonic where, I mean, it's clear that all of the ingredients are in there. It's also especially important if you have any doubts whatsoever, like here's an ingredient like fresh cream, and fresh cream should be stored in the fridge. And maybe you glance over and sitting on the bar is your container of fresh cream, and you're like, couldn't have been out on the bar too long because I've only been in service for like 2 hours, but it could be there up to 2 hours. You might want to taste that before you put it in the cocktail. You will also sometimes see bartenders taste cocktails as they are building the cocktail, not just at the end. Normally, that is the bartender tasting to figure out where they are in that cocktail. So if there are multiple Sipsmith?
No, Dizzy Diva.
Dizzy Diva, that's right. Sipsmith is the straws.
Does the straw.
Right?
That's straw,
Sipsmith does those straws. Dizzy Diva does the Tiki skewers. So, you see them dip their measuring spoon or dip one of the disposable cocktail straws in the cocktail, taste it, often means that they're like, did I add that ingredient or not? Yep, I did add the lime.
Or if they're making custom food.
Right. So, things like that.
Colleen says theoretically she can drink in 3 months when she stops blood thinners.
Then in 3 months, you should come by and visit. We'll park you out on the patio out back, and I will bring you, or have my wife bring you cocktails. How's that?
Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Dave had pulled pork for dinner. Brooke loves raw.
Wait. Dave pulled a cork for dinner?
No, had Keller Food and Wine pulled pork.
Oh, okay. Had pulled pork. That's different
We're
from...
going to.
Okay, that is very different from, for dinner, I pulled a cork, which is apparently what we're doing. So, yeah,
Alyssa wants to know why build in the smaller shaker tin.
I don't actually know.
You have to repeat.
All right, so, right, so I don't actually know the answer to this question, which is why build in the smaller tin? I don't actually know what the answer to that one is. I can think of a couple of practical reasons why you would want to build in the smaller tin. One is the smaller tin is always going to tell you what the appropriate amount of ice is for a typical build. The second is when we were just talking about tasting, remember those little cocktail straws are only about yay long. Well, if you're building in something that's this large and your cocktail is only coming up to here, then you're like sticking your fingers down in the shaker and that sort of thing. Whereas if you're building just off the small, then it's really easy to get something in there. If you need to stir it, if you need to pull anything out of it for whatever reason, it's just easier to do with the small one. But I mean, there might be a more practical reason for it. I will tell you, I have read several cocktail books, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't remember any of them saying, this is why we build in the small. They just do. And if any of my cocktail savvy friends, i.e. all of those bartender friends of mine, would like to chime in and say, oh, this is why we do that, I would love to put it in the comments. Direct message me or just comment on this, and we'll get the right answer as opposed to Pooch's guess at an answer. So there you go. There's the answer to that question.
Neighbor Philip Thomas said
Yes.
he'd love to come down and have cocktails on the patio sometime.
Excellent.
Say hi to Philip.
Excellent. Hi, Philip. We are here. I have a penchant for making cocktails for friends. So
Coordinate with stuff.
yeah, coordinate with my wife. She's my social director. She makes all of this possible and handles all the planning. So I don't have to. All I have to do is make the cocktails. So that works out for me. I do have to drink. So
Kristen said lemon with whiskey. What did you say should be with lime? Brooke answered her with rum.
rum. So rum's primary sour. Rum has an affinity for lime as a sour. It doesn't mean that you don't often use lemon with rum, but you will also use like a combination of lemon and lime, or lime and grapefruit and that sort of thing with rum, whereas that's almost unheard of with whiskeys. Lemon tends to be the primary sour that you see with whiskeys. Vodka, who cares? It depends. It just simply depends on the cocktail. I mean, vodka is such a clean spirit that you're not getting much flavor from the vodka. So the sour, whatever the sour profile is that you want, is really going to come through on that. Gin really depends on what you're doing with the cocktail. Because I mean, you think classically, if you're going to do a twist with a martini, it's a lemon twist. But like a gin and tonic is almost always with a lime wheel. So depends on the gin, depends on what you're doing with it, whether you go lemon or lime. The last word has got lime in it, and that's a tremendously awesome drink. If you did it with lemon juice, it would not be nearly as good. Gin can kind of go either way. It's a bi-spirit. Yeah. Two-spirit.
Andrea says that's a vat of cocktail.
This is a vat of cocktail. All right.
And
It's a value-added tax of cocktail? What? I'm okay with that.
Dave said the larger tin could be filled to the point that it wouldn't seal, and that's why you use the smaller tin.
Okay, well, I mean, so this does make a tremendous amount of sense here, in that you're putting the larger tin on top of the smaller one, right? If you were to flip that around, then yeah, I could see that seal not being nearly as tight. So this is an important thing to note about the seal, though. You'll see me doing it as well, tapping the glasses, the Boston shaker pieces together, presumably to get a tighter seal. That is only for the very initial shake. Here's the deal. And you don't, it doesn't quite work, well, it sort of works with the plastic shakers that I'm using here. But a true Boston shaker has both a metal top and a metal bottom piece. And when you add ice, it contracts the metal. And that's what actually gives you your seal. So if you do a really good shake and you get that thing super ice cold, i.e. right down around the, where ice is, you've got both pieces of metal have contracted together, and that's when you see the problems with people sitting there going, "Oh, I can't get this open." Now, metal is malleable, so if I have, here's a small one. So if you take your small guy and it sits in the larger, almost always it's going to be canted a little bit. Right, see it canted just slightly in here, off to one side. So if you get a seal that is too tight for you to break, I can't break this, it's too cold. You can smack all you want on this open portion. You can smack all you want on this portion that is closest to the metal cup up here. I see a lot of people that will hit up here trying to shift this over, and what you'll often get is it'll just rotate and it doesn't break the seal. It's like, great! What? So what Jeffrey says to do is, you notice you've got a gap on either end here, and if you, because metal is malleable, if you just press on either side there, it forces open a gap right here, and that pops the air seal, and that'll just pop right off. So you can just press there, and this will just come right off, which I'm like, that's cool. Next time my shaker tin gets stuck, I'm going to try that. So there we go. We're going to do that next time. I'm not sure what that was, but it doesn't need to be in there. All right.
I'm giving you this one, but I'm drinking part of it.
That's all right. And you're spitting it at me too. Okay. Yummy. You all right?
I've had the big.
You've had the big one, and you're working on the second big one.
Yes.
How is that fair?
I'm making it so that you're safe.
Safe to make cocktails?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that's fair, but whatever. All right. Last cocktail. Once again, if you missed the beginning of this, we are doing 4 cocktails this evening. Usually we try for about 3. We are doing 4 this evening because we were only 4 cocktails short of getting through the entire Minimalist Tiki canon. So there we go. We're doing the 4th cocktail. This is the last one. I will have successfully gone through all of Matt Petrick's canon cocktails for Minimalist Tiki, and you will have come along with me on this journey.
Kristen made an apple compote with lime and cardamom, and the recipe suggests making a cocktail.
So I'm hearing apple compote with cardamom and lime.
And the recipe said make cocktail with leftover.
I'll make a cocktail with the leftover ingredients.
So good. She did vodka and salsa.
I stock a cardamom and ginger simple syrup that I make my house daiquiris with. And I'm a really big fan of cardamom. In fact, my spiced syrup has cardamom in it, which is an addition that you don't often see in spiced syrups. Usually it's, the clove, anise, allspice, juniper, those bits in there. The addition of the cardamom, I think, adds a really great note to it. So that syrup, some lime juice, some applejack, so Laird's applejack, sort of a hard apple brandy, would make an amazing cocktail, I would think. That would be great. Yum.
So Alyssa said the person that sold her the shaker said to build in the bigger tin.
Okay, so we have conflicting evidence here. So Alyssa, who bought a bartending kit, which contains the Boston shakers and the Hawthorne strainer and the julep strainer and all of the other bits and pieces, she said that when she bought it, the person that sold it to her told her to build in the larger tin and put the small one on top. I have always been taught to build in the small tin. There's an exception to this. So you will sometimes see bartenders use the large portion of a Boston shaker, and they will use a pint glass as the other piece of that shaker. And in those cases, I've always seen them build in the metal tin, in the big metal tin, and then they put the pint glass on top. It's just been drained into me so many times that you're putting the larger portion of the Boston shaker on the small one and twisting down to get a good initial seal on that before shaking. So there's probably conflicting evidence here, which is probably why I haven't run across a reason and a rationale for this is why we always build in the small end of the shaker. But I always build in the small end of the shaker. There you go. But then again, I often use large plastic tumblers as my small end for my shaker. So, you know, who am I to talk here? All right, last drink, Jet Pilot. So, I'm sorry, this is not the Jet Pilot. This is the test pilot. We've already done the Jet Pilot, and it was like a bazillion ingredients going into that one. And the test pilot is sort of a slimmed down version. So it cuts out some of the ingredients. It has a similar flavor profile, but doesn't have the complexity. So I really like the Jet Pilot. I will handle a test pilot. But I mean, if the two are on the menu, I'm going to be like, why are them both on the menu? I'm going to order the Jet Pilot. They both have a base of using Fallernum and some Jamaican rum, aged Jamaican rum. But they also have a common ingredient or common couple of ingredients, which is Angostura bitters and absinthe in the cocktail. And I find that I really like the set of cocktails in the Tiki canon that has the addition of absinthe. I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful complement to rums in general. And so I often keep a kind of proprietary mix of ingredients up here. And one of those mixes has Fallernum and allspice dram and absinthe in it. And I will use that liberally when it's like, I need to punch up the spice, the exotic nature of this cocktail. So like the Bolo that we had earlier, which we said, you know, this tastes really kind of like pineapple juice, and then we added some Kahlua to it and it got even yummier. I would reach for that mix that I have up here because it would really add an exotic nature to that cocktail. The pineapple would still be there, but it would make it just, I think, even yummier. All right, so what are we going to do here? We are going to add, start with Fallernum. So I have two Fallernums on the bar. I have Bitter Truth's Golden Fallernum, and then I have John D. Taylor's Velvet Fallernum. They are both essentially the same. They start with a base of an almond syrup and have some citrus notes to them. And so there's some citrus peel elements to these and some spices that are added to them. They tend to be, as you can tell, a lot thinner in viscosity, and they don't have that almond milk characteristics. So you don't really pull a lot of almond flavor from the Fallernum, at least I don't. I taste much more of the citrus and the spice elements to it. It's a convenient way of converting like a rum to a spiced rum, is add some Fallernum to it. So we're going to go with, why the heck not? I've bought a lot of Foursquare rum, and John D. Taylor's Velvet Fallernum is actually distributed by, it's made in and distributed by Foursquare Distillery. So we're going to go ahead and actually use that. This is a ½ ounce of Fallernum. ½ ounce Fallernum. I do not generally keep speed pourers on my mixers like the Fallernum and that sort of thing, just because I don't use them enough to do that. And it just seems like when I'm doing cocktails for you guys, it would be hassle to pull the bottle cap off, throw a speed pourer on, pour it, take the speed pourer off, and it's just easier to do the free pour out of the bottle in that case. You'll note that a lot of the rums, though, I have speed pourers put on them just because I'm using that rum a lot, and so want to be able to just like flip open the top on that and pour and be done with it. It is common in tiki drinks to have, it's a fairly common addition to add like dry curacao or some other orange spirit in lieu of an actual orange juice. Often that the orangeness is just in the spirit is a little more pronounced than it is with actual orange juice. And if you talk to a lot of bartenders, a lot of them will say that if you talk to bartenders, a lot of them will say that orange juice is kind of insipid in cocktails. It doesn't add a whole lot. It adds a little bit of taste, but not a whole lot. Even like a tequila sunrise, where you'd think orange juice would be like, it's the primary ingredient, man, you should taste orange. It's like, it's there, The Blood and Sand is a classic ingredient, or is a classic cocktail that uses orange juice, and pretty much universally it's reviled by modern bartenders because of the orange juice inclusion. And so modern takes on the Blood and Sand use a variety of other things to punch up the orange component. What we're going to do here, though, is because we are a little limited on what sweet we are putting in here, so we're going to add an orange spirit. And normally I'd be reaching for my dry curacao, but we need to add more sweetness to this cocktail. And so instead of doing something like the dry curacao, we're going to add something that's got some sweetness and the orange flavor to it. And so I'm going to reach for my Grand Marnier. So we're going to go a half ounce of the Grand Marnier. Half ounce Grand Marnier. This is a classic Tiki build, so it's going to have a half ounce of what kind of sour? Say it with me. Lime juice. Yep, so lime juice, half ounce. Has this not been like a really strange evening for Tiki drinks? Because I've used so much more lemon juice and passion fruit syrup and pineapple juice than I've used lime juice. This is just very unusual. So half ounce lime juice. Lime juice is almost always the sour component. It is, I forget what the number is out of Matt Petrick's 30 Tiki Cannon cocktails, but it's an astoundingly large number that employ lime juice. Lime juice is the single most prominent ingredient in the Tiki Cannon. Okay, the Fallernum is straight across the board between the Test Pilot and the Jet Pilot. Fallernum, half ounce, same thing. For the sweet component, though, the Jet Pilot substitutes the orange spirit, whereas the Jet Pilot uses a spice syrup, like a cinnamon syrup, and the Test Pilot is using the orange syrup. Lime juice, straight up the same. The Jet Pilot adds another sour ingredient, which is grapefruit juice, so it would go in this. There's no grapefruit juice in the Test Pilot, though. That's one of the things that takes away a little bit of the complexity, is you're missing that other layered element of the grapefruit citrus. Okay, so we need 3/4 of an ounce of some Bacardi, and here's another difference between, the rums are the big difference between the Test Pilot and the Jet Pilot. So the Jet Pilot is going to be using 3/4 of an ounce of an aged Puerto Rican rum, like the Bacardi 8. So that's not all that different. You might see the same thing being used in the Test Pilot. So we're going to go 3/4 of an ounce of the Bacardi. Lightly aged. It's not unfiltered, so we're not reaching for the Bacardi Superior. But I did say that it was toned down a little bit. So the Test Pilot is going to reach for some Jamaican rum. And here again, we're going to go with an aged Jamaican rum. So we're going to go with the 12-year Appleton. And we're going to go a full ounce and a half of this. So this is going to be the predominant flavor for the rum, obviously. So you want rum you want a pretty good rum here. So the difference here in the rums between the Test Pilot that we have here and the Jet Pilot that we've done previously is we'd be doing a 3/4 of an ounce of an overproof Demerara rum. And that's not your typical Bacardi 151. We'd be using an overproof like the Hamilton 151 or the Lemonheart 151. Those are rums that have just a huge amount of character to them. And so they make that drink very, very different than what we're drinking tonight. So we got 1.5 ounces of aged Jamaican rum. We got 3/4 of an ounce of a lightly aged Puerto Rican column still rum. half an ounce lime juice, half an ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of Fallernum, and half an ounce of the Demerara syrup. Okay, last ingredients are Angostura. So 1 dash, just 1. You'd be amazed how much a difference a single dash of a bitters can make. So 1 dash Angostura. There you go. That's all it takes. And 6 drops of your favorite absinthe. Right here, I happen to have my favorite absinthe, which is Mount Defiance, local distiller. 1, 2, this is a small dropper, so I'm actually going to go with 12. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It doses out roughly half the size of the drop of the other dropper that I was using, and that's why I went with 12 drops instead of 6, because the volume works out to be basically 6 drops. Okay, there you go. That's the test pilot. We're going to do exactly the same thing we've done previously. We are going to put cubed ice in here, shake it, strain it, and then add crushed ice. All right, so let's do that. There we go. I'll leave this open because I'm going to need that crushed ice. Lid this guy. That is tremendously cold. And we're going to strain this into a goblet, which I have right here somewhere. Goblet. Had all the other glasses out, didn't have the goblet out. Okay, so that goes in here. Fills the glass about 3/4 of the way full, which is really pretty good for adding the crushed ice because it'll give it a nice, pretty textural look to it. There we go. We're going to add some mint to this for the garnish. Get ready, drinking game time. Slap the mint, yay! Okay, mint goes in there, but I think I mentioned something about burning, right? So I've got this piece of cinnamon bark that's been sitting around, and the end of this has been soaking in some lemon extract. And if I did this right, I can light this guy. There we go. Flames, look at the flames. Look, look, look. Someone turn out the lights so we can see the flames. Flames. Pretty, pretty flames. Yay. Pretty flames, and no, I'm not putting a straw in here and drinking out of it. Well, I could, but I'd have to have a really long straw, and I've got them, but it would be better to just blow that out. So now, if you do that, you've shown your patron, look, pretty flames, their flames are coming off, and now you've got the smoke that's sort of wafting over the top of this that smells like baking cinnamon. The flames have now gone out, so it is safe to drink. So you can just stick a straw in here and then drink this. And if you are really into symbolism or the like, the burning end of the cinnamon stick here, if you use your imagination, it's like the back end of the engine on an aircraft. You know, the afterburner has gone off, and that red glow around the engine.
That's stretching it.
Yeah, but I've had drinks, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my kind of cup of tea. I do miss the grapefruit juice edition, and the little heavier pour of the rum. You want the rest of that? Is that what's
Yep.
happening? I didn't drink it fast enough. Oh well, I lose. That's a tasty drink. The absinthe and the Angostura really come through on that. It makes a really nice complement with the aged Appleton rum and the hogo of that. Once again, I think for my money, I like the Jet Pilot with the addition of the grapefruit juice and the overproof Demerara rum really makes this a much more complex drink. But I gotta say, you know, if you don't have that on hand, this is a damn fine, damn tasty drink. And, you know, it just, with the log of cinnamon sitting there that's charred on one end and the mint, it's a simple garnish, but darn if that's just not pretty. So there we go. We have done 4 drinks tonight. We've done the Bolo, we've done the Chief Lapu Lapu, we've done the Polynesian Paralysis, and we have done the Test Pilot. And this completes the canon of 30 drinks that Matt Petrick lays out in his book, Minimalist Tiki. And he creates this, for all of you spreadsheet geeks, he's got this double-page layout that has the drinks down one side and all of the ingredients that you need to have on hand to do all of these drinks. So you can just immediately look and go, oh, this drink requires this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient, this ingredient, not have to look up the individual recipe for every one of the drinks. It's just right there on hand for you. So here is that 2-page spreadsheet. And I have to admit that when we started doing this, I wasn't sure we were going to get through all 30 of them. And I did find it amusing the first time I popped open Minimalist Tiki and went to that page, because I had already laid out something just like that for my tiki parties, where I had the drinks down the left-hand side and all the different ingredients along the top column, so I could just immediately go across and figure out what needed to go in what drink. Because, I mean, there's several hundred different, I mean, the Jeff Beachbum Berry's Tiki app has like 500-600 drinks in it, I think. So there's no way I'm keeping all of this in my brain. So having a nice way of laying that out was really pleasant and handy. So I immediately kind of fell in love with Minimalist Tiki the first time I saw that. So we've managed to make our way through that. I'm not sure what we're doing next week, because now we're done with that. Now there's some other cocktails and the like in Minimalist Tiki. Maybe we'll make our way through some of those. But now the world is my oyster. We can do anything we want. I don't feel compelled to go through the rest of that. So tune in next week when it will be something different. Not working our way through Minimalist Tiki anymore.
Sure.
And this week, so you might get the impression I'm serious about my tiki, and all of my books are like serious on techniques and the history of cocktails. Yeah, well, this came in the mail the other day. Tiki drinks. Yeah, this is just a cutesy book. I'm never reaching for this for their cocktail recipes ever. But the artwork in here is all by the artist known as Shag. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but yeah, so you've seen his artwork. I know you've seen his artwork. Here's the cover of the book. This is just like mid-century America in a nutshell kind of artwork. This is just amazing stuff. It's so cool. Here you go. Right? This stuff. I can skip through the recipes and just stare at the artwork and go, this is just cool. And so, yeah, Tiki is all about having fun and escapism. It's not meant to be intensely serious. So, yeah, it's not always totally serious. So there we go. I've got a fun little picture book of Shag artwork to take a look at. And maybe someday I'll get around to making, no, well, probably not any of their recipes. So there you go. This is week 22. Who knew that, we'd start this and we'd still be going on. Wow. And we're headed into fall, hopefully, right? So it's September now. It's mid-September almost. So we'll see you guys later. join me next week when we make some more cocktails for people and drink them.